Well, hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Thank you for taking some of your Tuesday evening where you could have done anything that you want to do, but you decided to come and get some news that you can use and join the Ultimate Wellness Group. When we talk today about the survival of the coronavirus, specifically from a perspective of how we can strengthen our minds as well as our immune system so that they can work in conjunction with each other to get us to either through the infection or to avoid ever getting it. So in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I further bear witness that Master Father Muhammad came in person and raised one from among us. You see, I don't have my How to Eat to Live book today because I forgot it, but this show is based in the teachings of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad in How to Eat to Live, book 1 and 2. And of course, neither of them left us alone, but in this dangerous time that we are living in now, we were left with Minister Louis Farrakhan, and their names I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. Again, I thank you for taking some of your time. Before I even get into the show, please, everybody, share the show. I'm going to give a few shout outs and we're going to jump straight into the program. Okay, so who do we got up in here already? I know Jacqueline Hilaire Lanier is here because I'll tell you in a minute. George Allen, Khalil Muhammad, Jamil Muhammad, Enrico X, Dora Muhammad, Kiera Muhammad, LaFaron Smith, Brother Tariq, Gary Jackson, Maxine Bland, Brother Lawrence. Assalamu alaikum to all of you. Lawrence says, appreciate you for all you do for our community and the world. Well, praise be to Allah, brother. Thank you. I appreciate you and your support. Cedric Milliner and Pamela Bashir. Wa alaikum salam, and thank you all for coming in. So today I want to take a little bit of time, clarify some mistakes that I made in the last show, but mostly talk about the power of our minds and the power of making up our minds that we are going to be safe in this time. It's a large part of how well your immune system works. And so that's what I want to spend some time today talking about. And then we're going to spend some time talking about the necessity of understanding what foods you should be relying on rather than a bunch of products. Because you know, I have a lot of people reaching out to me, and some of them are talking to me about all the different products that they're taking. And we have to understand that sometimes doing too much can cause the body just as much confusion as if we are in situations in life where there's too much going on and we get confused. You can do the same thing to the body with taking too many products, taking this supplement and this product and all these type of things. So we're going to get into that in a few minutes. But I wanted to start with just a little something. I was reading. I don't do a lot of reading of medical journals because I think most of it is a bunch of pushing drugs and things of that nature. But I do read this journal. It's called the Well-Being Journal. It talks mostly about, natural ways to heal things and just alternative thoughts. And there's this article in the latest one, and you can see it there, how our thoughts control our DNA. And right, most of us, including me, at one time thought differently, right? I thought that the DNA is what produced everything that is our reality. And unfortunately, that is an old thought. That's a thought that is being proven to not be as true as this thought that what we think and our environment and what we're going through every day and how we're responding to what we're going through every day is what is producing in our DNA material the reality of our daily functioning. So if I may just put that in just plain words, you are what you eat and you are what you think, right? And in this day and time, it's very important because as I talked about last week, if you are sitting in front of the television every day, listening to how many cases are in Atlanta and how many cases are in Houston and the great rise in cases in Florida and the increased cases all over the world and the number of deaths are going up and these hospitals, a few months ago in New York, were having so many deaths that they had to park these 18-wheeler refrigerated trucks outside. They didn't even have time to, eliminate these bodies from the hospital. They're just chunking them in these graves that they were making. That a lot of those were happening in other countries, but they were just throwing them in these 18-wheeler refrigerated trucks. If that's what you're inundating your mind with every day, and people being intubated, and the percentage of people that are being intubated are going to die, your mind, how can your mind be on positive? And if that is where your mind is, then if you are in public and you see somebody coughing, your mind goes to death and destruction, and I'm not going to make it, or I'm going to get sick, and I'm going to wind up in a hospital. So I really just wanted to spend a little time talking about that today. And then again, like I said, we'll get into some other things, but there was a story that was told to me just a couple of days ago. A person was, dealing with their own medical problems, and they had some breathing problems. And I think they got to a point where they just didn't feel comfortable staying home. They felt like they needed to go to the hospital. And this was a woman, and she went with her husband, and I think there was another friend with them. And they went to the hospital, and the people at the hospital agreed that she needed to be admitted to the hospital because she just wasn't in good enough shape to go home. Now, this is a person who has had diabetes for a while, cholesterol problems, things of that nature. So she has those, what we call underlying medical problems, those medical problems that could potentially lead to your immune system not being that well, and also leading to you catching infections and not being able to fight them well. She had some of those underlying problems, but she was really in fear. She was in fear of being in the hospital. And as I keep saying, if you go to a hospital, if you wind up getting sick enough or you wind up in the hospital, you really don't have a lot of rights. They are going to dictate to you what they want because that's their system. Long story short, she goes to the hospital. They told her that she was going to be she was going to be kept. They were going to admit her to the hospital, but that her husband couldn't stay. And she went into this, kind of I guess, more anxious. She was nervous. She was afraid. And she kind of went into this real animated, probably part of it was rage that, no, I don't want my husband to leave. I want him to stay, and whatever. Long story short, she wound up having a massive heart attack and dying. And there's no question in my mind, the way the story was explained to me, the biggest part of her demise was the fear factor. She was totally inundated with being sick and being in a hospital and being isolated and being intubated and being there by herself going through all of this, that she just couldn't mentally handle it. And it took her into an emotional dive that sent all kind of hormones going crazy in her body, and she died. And so I hope that nobody is listening to this story and thinking a bunch of negative thoughts. I'm saying that because that's where I hope that this type of a show keeps you from ever winding up being there. The first thing is we have to stay in control. I always talk about staying in control, right? But I also want to really, really, really just push the idea today that we are not in a time where you can continue to make excuses for doing the things that you need to do about your health. A lot of people are reaching out to me. Hey, you think I can get off these blood pressure medications? Yeah, that depends on the work that you plan on doing. I want to decrease how much diabetes medicines I'm taking. Now, that's very easy to do if you put the work in and you start doing the things that it takes to do that. And so that's what today's show mostly is about this mind frame and this mind state. And so I'm going to show one slide, and then I got a special guest for you all to check out. So bring this up. Oh, sorry. Before I go there, I got to shout out my Bean Soup Brigade. Right? My sisters who have their own Navy bean soup company. You see them there, right? That is Sister Naja and Sister Aaliyah are making bean soup for people. You know, I don't in this climate that we're living in right now, when the body needs to be boosted every day, something needs to be happening to improve the system every day. This is something that if you don't have bean soup in your life, if you don't have time to cook it yourself, this will be a worthwhile investment to let my sisters help you, because bean soup is hugely important in your daily cleansing as well as your daily influx of nutrients. So when it comes to the immune system, same three things that I always talk about. You need to be hydrated, you need to have good nutrition, and you need to detoxify. And so beans are not going to give you water and not going to hydrate you. And maybe some if you drink bean soup. Eat bean soup, but mostly it's going to give you nutrition and it's going to help you detoxify. Very important. So you see the numbers there. If the numbers are kind of small and you can't see them, for Naj, it's 832-863-8934. And for Aaliyah, it is 713-557-7785. So please, you all get some of that good bean soup in your life, because it is very, very important for your good health. Okay, so now let me just show this quickly, and then I'm going to bring on a special guest, because I think this is something that you all need to hear. So look at this, the power of your amazing brain. You all see that? Now I want to kind of put things in context. You see here where they talk about the conscious mind is 5% and the subconscious mind is 95%. And we cannot, let me repeat, we cannot look at that from the perspective of where it should be. That's a perspective of what happens in a world like we live in, when people are turning on the television in the morning and got the radio on when you're driving to work and got something constantly going in your head. You see people a lot of times, people that I interact with, I don't see any time in their day where they don't have something going in themselves that's not of their own choosing, right? If you put earphones in your ear and you're putting on music because you either don't want to hear people have to say, don't want to interact with people, or television or something like that, that's being programmed into you. That's not you being in control. But think about this. The God that produced the sun and the moon and the stars and the earth and the trees and all the things that we see around them, were they subconscious? That God wasn't subconscious. That God had a conscious mind to make something happen. And when we decide to make something happen, we put our conscious mind into effect. A subconscious mind is what's being happening that you're not in control of. When people produce things, when people are very successful, they talk about being on a grind and thinking and processing and keeping in control. I don't know if any of you are Nipsey Hussle followers, but I listened to Nipsey Hussle for years before he became as popular as he was close to his death. But that brother talked about putting the weed down and putting the drink down and putting the lean down so that he could focus more. And when he did that, that's when he became more successful. So no, we do not want to get these type of things and think that having 95% of your mind being in the subconscious is good. No, we should be working towards getting 95% of our brain being in conscious, so I can say, what? I'm going to do what I need to do today to improve my health. I'm going to eat the right foods to make sure my immune system is right. I'm going to drink enough water today. I'm consciously putting that in my mind, not subconsciously letting the television tell me, oh, I'm hungry now because you saw a commercial with a hamburger in it. No, we got to stay in control. Okay, so then you see down here where it says, in essence, 66.66, the brain is 70% fat. And so, again, I like to dispel myths and give us the type of energy and information that can energize us to do things. It is not against good health to have fat in the body. We got to have it. The brain is 70% fat. We have fat in other parts of the body. We need fat in order to function correctly, but it's got to be the right fat. There's a little bit of fat in navy beans. There's some fat in an avocado. There's some fat in the whole milk that we should be drinking. And those things will be very powerful and very good for us to keep the brain health correct. And then these other things you see here, I can let you all do some of your own research. But, when it comes to meditation and quieting your mind and allowing yourself to learn how to concentrate on things. And, it says up there at the top, we have 70,000 thoughts per day. And there are people that are doing research on our thoughts, and they're saying that most people are somewhere in between 80 to 90% of those 70,000 thoughts a day are negative. So just do the math, right? 80% of 70,000. That's a whole lot of negative thoughts. But where do those negative thoughts come from? It comes from the environment that we're in. So if you're thinking about something positive, hey, I'm going to get up and then tomorrow morning, I'm going to try to put some seeds in the ground and grow some food. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do all these positive things. I'm going to finish my website. I'm going to finish writing this book. I'm going to do something nice for my husband and a wife, do something to grow our relationship. Maybe reach out to my children and say something good to them. That is a positive thoughts, right? Those things are good. And if that's what you decide in your conscious mind every day, you won't have that many negative thoughts. This is a negative world that we live in. This is a world that is controlled by Satan and devils. So no, these type of ideas that are right here is what's normal, because we live in such an abnormal world, and we do have some control over that. So let's get control of that. Okay. So without anything further from me right now, I'm going to bring in my special guest, my brother, Gerald Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Wa alaikum salam, sir. Can you hear me
How are you
okay?
doing today?
Oh, fantastic, by the grace of Allah.
Yes, sir. That's beautiful to hear. My brother has graced us this evening, brothers and sisters. He fought having the coronavirus. And if I'm honest, I, a lot of times when my friends reach out to me, my mind is not on them being sick. And I've been knowing this brother right here for a long time. And I can't say I remember him being sick in all the years that we've known each other. So when he reached out to me, I at first didn't think he was sick. And then after he told me a few things, I was like, damn, I need to kind of reevaluate how I'm responding to him and pay a little more attention, bro. So talk about that, man. When you first reached out to me, what was going on with you, and why did you reach out to me?
Okay, yes, sir. First of all, thank you for having me. And
Yes,
I need to give a shout out to my lovely wife, because I didn't know she was going to be on here. Hey, honey. Okay. Well, initially, of course, I tune into your program. Sometimes I watch it without, when it's not live. I watch a lot of your ultimate wellness and the things you did with Riza Islam and Dr. Wesley, and just a lot of different things that you do and talk about. And I've been knowing you for a while, and I thought about something. I say, he's teaching how to eat to live, something that I've been living 30 years.
yeah,
And I say, wow, that's interesting that we still need somebody to teach us what we're supposed to be doing when we've been supposedly doing it for 30 years.
that's right. Yeah,
But I've reached out to you because I had got to the point where my this is with the COVID thing. Initially, it was on a Thursday. I felt great. I was at my little part-time FedEx strenuous job, working, and then I started simulating like I was shooting jumpers. I remember this well because one of the managers say, "Mr. G, that ain't gonna work," and I laugh. But then that very next day, at the same job, I had no energy whatsoever. So I'm sitting down most of my job until I get stuff to do, and I stand up and I go and take. And I just kept looking around at everything going on, saying, "Man, I don't feel like doing this. I don't know why am I doing this." I think I'm too old for this. Just all these thoughts was going through my head. And at the end of the shift, um, one of the managers came and asked me, "Can I go help some people?" And I thought about it, and I said, "Yeah, I can help you out." And then I said, "Well, no, because I don't really feel good, so I don't feel comfortable being around people because I work in a tower by myself." And I said, "I don't feel comfortable being around people because I may have something wrong with me because I have no energy."
Hmm.
And he said, "Okay, go ahead and go home." That night, I left. I took my temperature before I left work. It was 97, 97.6. I get home. I walk in and I tell my wife straight up. I say, "Honey, I got to give you full disclosure. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't feel good. I'm tired, and I just want to take a shower and go to bed." And she looks, and because my wife is like you, she know I don't just really be getting sick. And so I got in the bed, and she said, "Do you want some Tylenol or whatever?" And I said, "Yeah, just in case it was the flu, but nothing was bothering me except I was tired and my body was hurting." And I say, "Okay, yeah, they will give me that." I took some Tylenol. I went to bed, and the next thing you know, I woke up. I don't know how long ago, but I had a fever, and it was a fever that lasted for 7, 12, 12 days, I think. I mean, I had a fever every day, and it kept getting higher and higher. And that's when I reached out to you after my the third day. I reached out to you to say, "Hey," because normally after 3 days, for me, like feeling body aches and everything, I pop right back up. Now this
Yeah,
third day,
this is exactly what you said. You said I have had a fever since Friday and can't seem to break it. I have been taking Tylenol, drinking water, ginger tea, and orange juice. Do you have anything else I can try? That's when I knew something was wrong with you. You sent me a text message like that. I knew something was wrong with him, brother sisters, because that's just not brother Gerald. He's not gonna and probably some men in general are like that, but I know him well enough to know that when he sent me that, I'm like, damn, this dude damn near ready to go to the hospital. He asking me something like this.
yes, and that really um, caused me to I stopped taking the Tylenol. My wife came in and said, "You want the Tylenol?" I say, "Nah, because it's been 3 days and that ain't working. I don't want to mess up my body with that medicine." And so I stopped taking the Tylenol. I would go outside and get some sun, and then I would walk the block. Me and my wife, of course, because I kept saying, I'm gonna get through this. Now, this is not knowing that I got COVID. This just these body aches and this fever. So the fever was around 101 for days, and after a certain period of time, I said, "Okay, I know what a fever is supposed to do. It's supposed to burn infection." Now, by this time, my children are calling me, and my some other relatives, we're talking back and forth, and everybody was giving me a solution. But mostly everyone except my daughter, of course not you, but except my daughter was telling me, just what I was saying. "Hey, you don't want to be taking all that medicine. Your body is designed to fight this stuff, whatever it is. You think you got COVID." I wasn't worried about having COVID at first until the the fever. When you told me, I asked you how high can a fever get, even though I'm looking at it on Google, researching it, and they saying 107, but I'm saying let me make sure that I can have a fever of 104 degrees. And that's exactly what my fever was, 104. And you told me you gave me some information, and I was like, okay, then I'm good, and I just ride with this, and I won't let it get past that. But my wife came in the room one day, and she looked at me, and I swear I thought when I saw my wife's face that I must look like I'm about to die. Because her face, even though she had on a mask, her eyes said something to me. And so I got worried. I started getting scared. And I wasn't really scared of dying or nothing. I started getting afraid of leaving my family. And I'm like, man, how can I leave them right now? So, and it was the craziest thing because my mind had already settled on, okay, you finna die? All right. And I didn't know how to, because I'm not a suicidal person, and I didn't know how to really understand what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Like I'm just cool. And then some said, so you just gonna lay here and not fight? You just gonna die? And I
Right.
say,
And
and
let me interject this right here, bro, because this is a text message you sent me, I think around that time. He sent me a message. He said, if I go to the emergency room, can I refuse to be intubated? And when Brother Gerald sent me that text message, I was like, man, this dude is going through it. Right. And so after that, I kind of kept a little more in touch with him, but I never responded to that because I wasn't going to give into the negativity. But I wanted him to come and talk about that because that's where, when I talked to him, that's where he was. He wasn't necessarily in fear, but he was in fear about what the possibilities were. And what as you were going through that, what were the things that you think were leading to that fear?
well, we personally know someone in New York who had got intubated, and he missed 7 days of his life in intubation and in the what is the coma they give you, that coma
Yeah,
they put you
induced
in,
coma.
induced coma.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, I I don't want to go through that, and I don't know what they'll do to me if I was laying up and I don't even have no support around me,
Right.
and so that is when I started saying I cannot allow myself to go to the hospital because I may not come out. And then I remember that all the men um, on my mother's side of the family, when they went into the hospital or something, or started getting some kind of treatment, all of a sudden their kidneys failed. And so I have people who have died from kidney failure and people who are on dialysis right now from kidney failure. And I was like, oh man. And they said one of the things is it's going to attack your kidneys. And
Right.
I said, oh man, I can't go into the hospital and let them put no tube in me because then they're going to damage my kidneys. So the whole time I
Yeah.
was adamant, like, I'm not going to the hospital. And my
Right.
wife would say, so what you going to do? Uh, you don't want to go to the hospital. You're going to have to get rid of this fever because now you're at 104. You're just going to burn up. And I was telling her, this is the way the fever's supposed to work. It's going to burn up the infection. And then she didn't know that I was actually Googling things saying infection or fever. Infection versus fever, like which is worse? Which one do I want to decide that I'm going to let run things?
Yeah.
And then I realized that at certain times I had no energy to fight. It's not even a like I'm trying to fight. I had no energy.
Yeah.
None. No. And where I'm laying up looking and I cannot move. I mean, I want to move, but I just had no energy to raise my arm, to raise my head, and I just would lay and look out the window saying, man, I don't know what I'm gonna do because I can't even move.
Yeah.
How can I fight? But
So
that queen, go
yeah.
ahead.
So during that time when you were going through that, when you were really physically debilitated like that, were you watching the news? What were you doing as far as your daily intake of information? What was going on daily with you?
I did not watch TV for the first week and a half or almost 2 weeks. I did not watch TV. I did not watch that COVID. I did not watch any of the things, but I would every now and then Google something to see if I'm doing something that's damaging me or helping me. Because one of the things is that the hardest time for me was nighttime when it was a this gonna sound when I knew my wife had to go to bed. That was hard for me because I'm saying, is nobody gonna come in here and check on me? So I'm not moving. I don't know what's going on, and I did not in my mind have shortness of breath. So I'm laying here breathing, thinking like, well, hell, this must not be COVID. What else could I have? And that's when I actually had to go get tested because of work. It's they got the HR and I left talking about I'm sick, so I had to get tested in order to go back and all that. But the test took them so long. When I finally got the test back, I'm actually in bounce back mode now.
Yeah.
But it said, yeah, you have COVID.
Right.
and that, but I had already decided that I'm going to start fighting. So every day, my wife will ask me, "You want to go walk? You want to get what? You want to get up? What you want? You want?" I mean, I swear this woman was a life sin because if y'all know me, y'all know I do stuff for myself. I don't need nobody to do nothing for me. And I'm really kind of macho like that. Like I got it.
That's right.
And and she catered to me so much. Now I have to tell y'all this joke. It ain't a joke, but it was so funny. She said, "Here, you need some fruits." And the first day she brought me some fruits, she had cut them all up, all cute, cut the green parts out of strawberries and all this. It was all cute. Oranges peeled up. Great. Oh, I had a ball. I was like I felt like a king. And then the next day she brought me some fruit. It had vines on them, grass, dirt.
You didn't wash it or nothing, huh?
I say my poor wife getting tired.
Yeah.
I say I had to get up from here. But I'm saying all that to say that I really had my mental faculty was I'm gonna fight this. But that's only one aspect of your mind. Your mind saying when you in that state saying you gonna fight, okay, that's one thing. But then when you tell your body, okay, let's get up, and your body don't move, now you gotta tell your mind, hey, you need to get a little stronger because I ain't did nothing. I literally spent 3 days laying in a bed doing things that I actually hadn't done. And when I say doing things, I'm telling myself, I'm getting up, I'm gonna go in here, and I'm gonna do this, and then 3 days passed by, and I hadn't did it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
I thought that I was getting up doing it. I had to ask my wife, didn't I do? And she said, no, you ain't get up. And I told her, I thought I got up. I thought I did this, and she said, no. And that's when I said, okay, I'm gonna fight to get up out of this bed. So I started getting physically standing up out of the bed, and Lord, you talking about? I look like I look like a skeleton when I looked in the mirror. And
Yeah, when I came by that house, when I came by your house that day to give you the immune boost supplement, that's the first thing I said is, "Damn, you done lost some weight."
yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
So the other thing that you talked to me about, and I think this is very important, brothers and sisters, because to go through this thing, a lot of people are having very similar similar descriptions of how difficult it is and how tired their body feels. And then also it's like this recovery factor, this convalescent factor afterwards. All of us that have been sick before, once you get over the fever and all that kind of stuff, you start coughing up stuff and you get to the point where you're going through that, getting rid of all the trash out of the body. There still is a convalescent where you get back to your normal activity, your normal energy level, all that kind of stuff. And you were telling me about having some difficulty breathing as well as just physical activity, even after you felt like you were all the way over it, right?
Right. So after I turned the corner, so to speak, that's when I started realizing all of the things that it had damaged that I could not do. Because I went for a walk and now I'm standing in the driveway with my wife and I try to take a deep breath. And normally my deep breath in the martial arts, you come from the bottom and go all the way to the top and expand your lungs and breathe in all that oxygen. I could not even get my arms up to my shoulders, to the shoulder height, because that's where my lungs stopped. That's where the intake stopped. So even if I raised my arms up, I was no longer inhaling. It was done. And that was a shocker. That's when I had reached out to you and said, hey, I didn't know that I couldn't breathe. And it was, I know you may hear my voice now, but I sounded terrible. When I used to talk to people, it was, I'm going to try to simulate it. I was talking and
What you
then
sounded a couple of times when I was talking to you, yeah.
Yes, it was the hardest process to get through. But I forgot. I didn't tell you this, Doc. But today I did a full breath. I said, it was, it wasn't full because I just tried it just now and it didn't go all the way where I thought I was going to go. But each day it gets better.
Yeah.
And better.
Yes.
And better. And I feel so good. A caveat. Now, I started taking the Immune Boost 100. I couldn't tell if it was helping me or what. I didn't know. Because every night after so I would have a fever that goes down. And it started going from 96, and I sent that. It was at a 96 point something, and it'll go up to 104. 96. So it was like this circle, like a cycle I was on, rolling and rolling through this. And all of a sudden, the fevers didn't stop went on that cycle. But I noticed that, so I have all these aches and pains, and I realized that I'm not in pain anymore.
Yeah.
Didn't understand because I had stopped taking the Tylenol because I did take it a couple of more times. When them 104s was hitting, I was like, I can't get to 105 because I am not going to the hospital. So I start alternating Tylenol and Motrin because I was like, I'm not going to the hospital. So
yeah, so I hope you all understand why I had my brother come on, because I think it's important to talk about this mental strength. And I pray that everybody here will take this and understand that the reason why I wanted you all to hear his story is because I want us to fight like this to never get sick. I want us to fight like this to make sure you never have to go to the hospital. And the reality is that there were a few things that happened, including Brother Gerald told me, I think it was maybe about 6 or 7 days in, maybe 5 or 6 days. I don't remember exactly. But all of his joint pain went away. He was having some, knee issues and other issues, and his joint pains went away. And, I'm going to go into a little description of a few things about the immune system in a minute, but that is part of the cleansing process of the body. When we get an infection, the reason why you have all that spit and all the stuff that you're blowing out, that's cleansing of the body. There's a whole lot of things that are being cleansed out of the body. So that time that you were in the bed and the time that you weren't really able to move, that was a process of the body doing its work. And so I want us to always keep our minds focused. And you did hear him say that he wasn't on the news, because I do know some people that have been sick and they're steadily on CNN or Fox News and all that all day long. And it's killing them, literally killing them, right? Because as we talked about before, those brain cells are initiated by thought. That's what activates brain cells. So that's the first aspect of a brain cell being in the positive, is the thought. So if we're inundating ourselves with a bunch of negative thoughts, we are literally causing a lot of damage to our nervous system and the brain cells within themselves. So I thank you very much, brother, for coming on and being transparent and being vulnerable and telling us about your story. But I really thought, you know, once you successfully beat that thing, and just everything that you were going through as you went through, yeah, that's right, throw them arms up, right? Yeah. So I thought it was important. I wanted everybody to hear. So thank you very much, bro. Anything you want to say as you close out?
Yes, sir. I do want to just say, like the doc is saying, man, you have to make up in your mind that you're gonna fight. The minister said it. He said, "We only have one life.
That's right.
Fight for it with all you have." So you can't succumb to no foolishness. Just fight.
That's right.
To the last drop. And then if you don't make it, you still made it.
You're a martyr, right?
Yeah. That's what I was like. Okay, well, I guess I was going to be a martyr. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't want to be a martyr right now.
No. That's right.
So that is, just keep fighting. And then make sure that your team consists of Allah and then somebody who loves you.
That's right.
Team Jackie, Zakia, my family, Lord, they just, my mother-in-law, they just was praying, and I mean
go ahead and throw it up for the family.
Yeah, reaching out. And then I actually had to cut them off because my wife told me, she's so sweet. She said, listen, if you're gonna do it the way you want to do it, you cannot be listening to everybody. You just have to shut them out.
Yeah.
And even me, because I ain't gonna do it no more. I'm just gonna let you do whatever you want to do. I say, honey, it ain't like that. I'm trying to do what, and then I say, all right, let me go and fight the way I know how to fight.
Yeah.
But then she never stopped helping me at all.
No, she's not going to, brother.
No. And so your team got to be strong.
Yeah.
Your team got to believe in you, that you gonna fight too.
Yeah.
But that's it, brother.
Yes,
I love you, brothers. I love y'all
too, bro. Thank you, bro. I appreciate it. I think you did a really good a good boost for everybody that's listening today. So thank you, bro.
Yes, sir. All praises due to Allah.
Yes, sir. Praise be to
and
Allah.
My sense of humor is still here.
Yeah, it is. I can hear it. All right, bro. You take care of yourself, man.
Yes, sir. Thank you, bro.
All right. Peace. Like Islam. All right, brothers and sisters. I hope you understood why I brought that on. Let me get to a couple of comments. Brother Danny says, how long did breathing problems last? How did family know to isolate before they would get infected? Yeah, I mean, they as soon as he came home, they were wearing masks in the house and all that. So they were definitely trying to keep themselves from, getting it from him. And as far as his breathing problems, I think he just finished saying, he's still recovering. So it's like a daily process that he seems to get a little better. And it's been the same with other people as well. People's stamina, endurance, and breathing. Those are the three things that I've seen consistently that take their time. And it was different than the way people have described them from before. It's taken me longer to get back. Like when Brother Jared was talking about going on those walks, I've had some people say, man, I can't even do my normal walk that I was doing every day before I got sick. And so it's those type of things that is taking people time to get back to their normal, because again, this virus is wicked. This virus is not normal. Virus is not like the things that we're used to being infected by. And so we have to be a little patient with ourselves as we get back into a place where we are even considering ourselves being back normal. Okay. So I really appreciate my brother for coming in and being transparent like that. It's not necessarily easy sometimes for anybody to come in and put themselves out in public like this. So I'm really thankful. And I pray that you all are as well. Hadil Razak says, praise be to Allah, Brother Jared. I bear witness to this testimony. I had a fever for 7 days straight hovering around 100 to 101. Thank you. And yeah, praise be to Allah. Both of y'all made it through, man. Brother Gerald was calling me some days and he was 104, 103. Hey, doc, what do you think I should do? Hey, let it burn. that was my statement. Let it burn. I mean, that is the reality, you know, because he had some very good questions. He was like, at what point is the fever too high where it starts to cause problems? And typically in my practice of medicine, my experience, children, I don't like for them to get above 102, 103, because children can go into febrile seizures. An adult can go into febrile seizures as well, but it's usually when they start getting up to 106 and 107 and things like that. And that is usually not consistent with living too long, because you start to really cause a lot of damage in the body. Blood cells start not working correctly, organs start to shut down. So that's not where, you know, a person wants to go. But if a person is at 103, 104, 105, I usually will suggest to the person, hey, don't take any medicine, let the fever go. If you're feeling okay, if you start feeling really bad, then do something to get a little comfort. But that fever is what's killing the infection. And when that infection is killed, then the fever starts to come down. That's the normal process in the body. And unfortunately, the medical community tries to do everything against how the body works. So that's what I usually try to do, is promote how the body works. Hope that makes sense. Kia Gradney says he never gets sick. So when he said he wasn't feeling well, we knew. Absolutely. That's right. And y'all knew it better than anybody, because y'all the ones right up there with him all the time. Y'all know him better than I do. David X says, is it wise to have family come and visit during this pandemic? It depends, bro. I would say that that depends on your comfort with yourself, right? For instance, I had my son was visiting my mother in California, and he was driving back to Atlanta, because they live in Atlanta now, and he stopped by to see me. I wasn't concerned. You know what I mean? I have worked, and I work every day on my immune system, and you know, he hasn't been sick. My daughter hasn't been sick. My niece hasn't been sick. They were all together. I know that each of them as families, like my brother, his wife, my mother, and my niece, they were in the house, but they've been confined. They haven't been doing anything in public. And my son and my daughter have been doing the same thing where they live in Atlanta. So, you know, the interactions that they have had were limited. I believe that my interactions have been limited, and I have been working on boosting my immune system. So, you know, I was happy to see him. I hadn't seen him in a while. So we, you know, spent a little time together, and then they went on about their business and I went on about mine. And so I think that's like I was saying last week, I think that's what each of us have to do. We have to think our way through these things. If, you know, my son would have got out the dog on the car and he looked sick and he was coughing and doing all kinds of stuff, but like, homie, you better get back in the car and get back on the road, homie. Because we're not gonna expose ourselves just because. But, you know, I think that's an individual decision. I think it would be best for us all to be as safe as possible, but also take things into consideration, you know what I mean? And think through everything so that we could make sure that we are doing the best we can at not infecting ourselves and not having to put ourselves in a situation like Brother Gerald just described. We should be trying to make sure that we don't have to be in that situation. But mostly, I want us to consider the thoughts and staying healthy and doing the things that we need to stay healthy. Okay. So let me get to a couple of these other statements. Wasn't easy. That's right. But it was all because of you, Jackie. You helped him make it. Brother Lawrence says, how do we order some of the immune booster? Good question. I'm going to put my information up. Y'all see my information rolling right there. Send a text message to me. Let me know that's what you want, and send me your email address. I'll send you a document that describes everything, gives you the information, and then we can go from there. Erica Perez says, this testimony is so powerful. I feel even that much more gratitude for everything in life right now. I pray for a complete and full recovery for you, Miss Muhammad. Well, thank you, Sister Erica. Yes, I'm glad you say that, because that was the reason why I wanted to come on here, not to put any fear in anybody. I didn't tell the story about the lady having a heart attack to put fear in anybody. That's not the way I roll. I'm not, you know, you go back and you look at my shows, I'm not the person that's pushing this fear factor. I'm pushing knowledge. I'm pushing wisdom. I'm pushing into understanding, I hope, so that we all can do something every day, be on the grind of health, right? A lot of us are working from home. We're still trying to do things to make it because we have to. I understand that. But we also should be on a grind of having the best health that we can have. Right now, right during this thing, if you have medical problems, you should be working on getting rid of those medical problems. Because as you do the work to get rid of a medical problem, your immune system is getting stronger. Your whole body is getting in a better place to decrease the possibility of anything like this happening. And then, God allow us to get this infection. We have to be prepared to fight, because I know some people that didn't have it as bad as Brother Gerald, but Brother Gerald was going through it. And it was a struggle, and he made it. So we're thankful, and I think we're strengthened from his story, but we have to be strengthened into activity and action, right? So let's make sure we're doing that. Jack said he's not funny. Yes, add him to the prayer list. Yes, because he's still gonna need it, even though he's on the better side. Maxine says, please. What happened to your comment? Please speak to the reality of why someone who has been exposed should or shouldn't get tested. Thank you so much. Absolutely. I'm going to get to that. LaFarren Smith says, when I had symptoms of anything, I get up under the hot covers and sweat. Absolutely. That's the same thing I do. It's been, like I say, it was 2004 the last time I was sick. 2003, 2004, something like that. But that's exactly what I did. As soon as I knew I was sick, I went home. I put on like 2 layers of clothes, put 2 blankets on the bed, got under the bed, and just let it sweat. Let the body do what it's going to do, because we have to go through that process. Danny says, what about getting an infrared sauna if you have a fever? Yeah, that would be a good thing too. I just don't know if you would feel like sitting up in that thing. But yeah, if you get into a sauna, that would be another way of helping burn up the infection. And also that sweating is going to be releasing a lot of toxins, which is going to help the body in general. Princess X, do you recommend passive cooling when a person has a high temperature, since you recommend to let it burn? Well, that would depend, man. That's a good question. That would be more if a person has gone out of a fever that is attacking something, and in a fever that becomes abnormal, right? Because some of you have heard of people like some of these athletes that working out, doing these 2-a-days in the hot sun, and they wind up going to these ICUs, and their temperatures are 114 and 118. That is a situation where I would want to put a person in some type of cooling mechanism. But usually adult up to 105, I'm not concerned about it. If you start going up to 106, 107, and you're feeling horrible and you look sick and you look terrible, I'm going to start being concerned. We're going to have to do something to cool your body down. But I think it would have to be a little more where I'm really concerned about, things. I could go into a whole lot of things of what happens when a person starts to become too hot. I think that's too much for this conversation. But, your question is a very good question, bro. At some point, we as physicians have to make the decision on, okay, this is too much. This person's going in the wrong direction. This is too much for this person to handle. Let's cool their body down. So you have to do that externally. But that means that the body is in trouble, not when the body is just doing the right things that's made to do. Different situation, but good question. Sharon Crockett, thank you for coming in. Kia says, once you have COVID, can you get it again? Yeah. Brother Warren, who we had on last week, I believe he had it twice. So yes, I do believe that you can. And that's why I always say that no matter what we are doing in a climate like we live in, I mean, I've been saying this for years, so it was always important. But in a climate like we live now, we have to work every day as if we're going to catch it. What is your body going to be like if you catch it? And if your body's in a very good state, you hopefully won't be very symptomatic. And like I went over the world meter last week, the majority of people, right? We're at bordering 16 million people in the world that have had this disease, and greater than 10 million have been mild disease. And so, what I consider Gerald mild disease in comparison to a person that winds up in the hospital, in comparison to a person that winds up in the ICU, yes, he is mild. And so some people are describing these, lots of fevers and feeling weak and all these type of things. But yeah, I would consider that mild versus needing to go to the hospital. So, what he dealt with, I don't know if that would be the average of all those people that were mild and got over it. But at the end of the day, most people are getting over it. And that's the kind of information that we need to keep us strong. Queen Serene says, wait a minute, somebody said something before that. Brother Willie, what's your thought on turmeric? Excellent. I'll talk about it in a minute. Queen Serene, is it important? What happened? Is it important to do certain deep breathing exercise with lungs if infected? To be honest with you, I would say that doing breathing exercises the way he just described, the way he felt, I don't think some of the people that I've been dealing with, when they really are sick with it, they don't feel like doing nothing. And, you know, it's been a long time since I had the flu, but I know when I had the flu, I didn't want to do nothing. Stay up under those covers, sleep, get up, drink some water, some orange juice, whatever I was doing at that time, and go back underneath the cover. So breathing exercises will help. But I think those breathing exercises are most important when you start getting into the recovery phase, like when you start coughing up all that sputum and all that kind of stuff. But it wouldn't hurt if a person had the ability to do it. D. Kiki, how you doing, my sister? Kia says she believes she had it, but her symptoms didn't last nearly as long. Yeah. So that probably was your immune system was probably in better shape. Loss of appetite. Should you make yourself eat? LaFair Smith. Actually, good question. Yes. My suggestion when a person is going through a situation like Brother Gerald was going through is that, of course, the best situation is to fast and allow the body to do the things it needs to do. But the problem is that if a person gets the infection, that means your immune system to a certain degree wasn't as strong as it should be or could be. And so that person may need to do some fruit, like he was talking about fruit, something very easily digested. The nutrition is going to be high. And as we're about to go into, I'm going to go into some specific information about where we get zinc and vitamin D and vitamin C and those things. And so I'll get to all that in just a minute to further your point, brother. But that's an excellent question. All right. So I'm going to have to cover a couple of things and I'm going to come back to some of these questions because y'all have some good questions. Okay, so the next part of the show is sponsored by the Man's Law Office Atonement and Dispute Resolution Center, where you can do mediation, arbitration, community conflict. So it's a conflict resolution center. That's the center that I'm in right now. You can contact them at 713-589-6404. Again, that's the Man's Law Office Atonement and Dispute Resolution Center at 713-589-6404. I also want to give a shout out to Brother Eric and Sister Haji, because that's where I was posted up doing my shows before I started doing them here. And also I want to give a shout out to my brother Darnell Muhammad, because he is the one that helped me get all my equipment. And so if I look like my show is getting better and more technologically sound, it's because of my brother Darnell. And I actually am slipping on the name of this company right now, so I have to give that to y'all next week. Okay, so let me get to a couple of things that I want to cover, and then we will get to some more of your questions. So I wanted to say this. You know, when it comes to the speed of things, when we test things with physics, most of the time the speed of something is relative to its power, right? So listen to a couple of these things. The Earth rotates at 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, right? Light travels at 186,000 miles per second, and sound travels at 1,120 feet per second. 1,120 feet per second. All those things are fast. But did you all know that the mind and the thoughts that it produces travel at an average of 24 billion miles per second? Let that sink in, right? So that's a whole lot faster than 1,037 1/3 miles per hour, which this Earth is spinning, right? And most of us have never been that fast on top of the Earth. We're traveling that fast right now. We don't really feel it, but in a plane or in the fastest car you've been, you haven't been anywhere close to that, right? 186,000 miles per second, 1,120 feet per second. And so when we're talking about thought and the reality of thought and the power of thought to say, I'm not going to get sick. But right, that thought and that idea can't come and then nothing back it. So that's the main thing that I'm getting across today is the thought, the power, right? That 24 billion miles per second is average. How many of you look in the mirror and call yourself average? I don't consider myself average. But even if I am average and my 24 billion miles per second can produce some reality, That's how powerful these thoughts are. My powerful thoughts have said I'm not going to get sick. And I've been saying that since 2004. That's the last time I was sick, right? But again, I have these activities that I'm doing every day to make sure that I don't get sick. And so I wanted to also speak about some people that are reaching out to me about different products, taking sea moss, taking black seed oil, they're taking vitamin C from whatever source they are. You heard Reza say the other day that he takes lysosomal vitamin C. And again, I'm not knocking any of these products. I don't have a problem with these products if that's what you're doing. You know, some people are doing elderberry, some people are doing other types of supplements. The thing that I want you to understand is the human body has a very specific way that it does things. And when we start doing too many things, your body can go in confusion, because every time you put something in the human body, even when it has a benefit, there's some negativity to it. There has to be some toxicity. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in How to Eat to Live that even good foods have some toxicity in them. So if a good food has some toxicity in it, then that sea moss does, that elderberry tablet does, that vitamin C tablet that you're taking does, the elderberry extract that you're doing, all of those things have some toxin in it as well. So whatever you do and whatever you're comfortable with, make up your mind that that's what you're going to do, and then stick with that plan. Don't go and do a whole bunch of different things and changing from this because you heard somebody say that. If you're down with black seed oil and you're doing sea moss and you're doing some elderberry, and those are the things that you have confidence in, then stick with those things, and then make your food right, get your activity, your exercise, and get your sunshine, and stick with that and have confidence at it, and have that 24 or more billion miles per second of thoughts to put in your soul, in your mind, in your spirit, that I'm going to be okay. This is going to get me through these times. Okay. And so I wanted to make that real clear. Somebody asked last week about nose swabs and chlorine. To be honest with you, brothers and sisters, I do a little bit of research on these swabs and a different type of tests, but I'm not spending a lot of time on them. So I really don't have an answer for that. I don't know anything about those. I don't do the tests. I don't suggest the tests. If people are going to get tested, I will send them somewhere to get tested, but I haven't really done a lot with those tests. And somebody asked last week about the face shield. For those of us that are in the healthcare field and we're around the people with the infection, I think it's very important to wear the face shield. Because again, that's just another mechanism. You have the mask on, God say the same, you got on the right type of mask, but then that shield is another form of protection, right? And so I think face shields are good as far as everyday out there in public. I've seen some people in like grocery stores, and, a couple of times I've been in places like Home Depot, and I've seen people with shields on, but for me, I don't think it's necessary because I'm not going to get that close up to people. And then when you're checking out, which is the closest that I've been to anybody, they're on the other side of, that's already like a face shield. If they got the big plastic things, and most places that we go now, or I should say most places that I go now, which is just the necessity places, they have the big glass or the plastic shields up in between you and the person that's checking you out. So, that serves as a glass shield. But if you are the type of person that feels like that is the added protection that you need, as I always say, I am giving suggestions and advice based on the questions to me and how I think we should put all the different aspects together. If you feel more comfortable with that, then you should do that. I think that's the time that we're in where we have to make those decisions. I got to correct myself last week because I said that if somebody were to offer me a flight to go to Africa, that I would go. And that's just not true. I was conflicting with my information last week. I talked about the schools. I wouldn't send my children to school. I'm going to protect myself when I go out in public, and I'm not traveling anywhere, right? If there's an emergency, something that I need to go check on somebody or go do something, yes, I'm going to do that. But no, I'm not taking any trips. I'm not going out of the country. I'm not going anywhere until, as I said, in my evaluation and assessment, my thoughts, my plans, my ideas, my education, my wisdom comes secondary to the man that I think is getting his information directly from on high. So when he says that we are able to go out and start intermingling again is when I will decrease my protective mechanism in how I'm taking care of myself. There was a good question last week about steroids and these immune boosting supplements. And so I just want to show something really quick. The quick and short answer to that is that if you are taking steroids, you're pretty much going to eliminate your immune system, because it pretty much shuts down the whole system. It is steroids work in a way that don't allow the body to do the things that it needs to do. Let's see if I can find this. I think it's this one. So I pray that you all can see this. It's kind of a small slide, but I wanted to use this as an example. If you look there in the middle, it just says corticosteroids. That's just a medical name for steroids. And you can look up there, it says inflammatory cells. It decreases the number and decreases apoptosis. It decreases cytokines. Cytokines would be the immune boosting supplement. That's the category in the human body of what the immune boosting supplement will be. It's a part of the cytokine system, right? And so you see here, it decreases the numbers of the macrophages and the mast cells, the cytokines, and it decreases the mediators. And so if you are the type of person that's in the type of health where you are taking a steroid, I wouldn't suggest you take the immune boosting supplement, because I really think that you would be wasting your money. See, I'm just not going to lie for money. The reality is that if you are on steroids and you want to get off of the steroids to give yourself a better chance of making it through the times that we're living in right now, you're going to have to reach out to me, because I'd have to do more research into what's going on with you, why they put you on steroids. I've been very successful getting people off of steroids. It takes work, but the only way that I would sell a person the immune boosting supplement if they were on steroids is if they were going in the direction of going in a tapering manner of getting off of the steroids. And then I would put them on the immune booster to help boost that immune system very quickly after we get those steroids out of the system. But as you can see right here on this slide, if you're taking steroids, you're pretty much shutting down the entire immune system. And so while I'm on that point, I want you all to pay attention if you're watching television. I don't watch a lot of television, but Saturday I just decided to have a chill day. I just sat at the house. Wife and I watched a few movies, and she was, wondering what was going on with me, because I was walking up to the TV and I was taping these commercials, because I was going to post some of these commercials and make some commentary. Found out that I can't do that legally, so I'm not going to do that, but I can talk about these commercials. You go watch the commercial when I'm talking about those commercials, when they talk about medications. And so they talk about the medication and what the medical problem is, and then they start talking about what the medication will do to try to help you. And then they start talking about if you've traveled, if you've had an immunization, or if you've ever had an infection, or if you plan on going out of the country, or if you plan on this, because these medications have steroids in them. That's the only way that they can do this. The explanations that they're giving of what can happen to you and what can happen if you take this medication are all associated with a very weak immune system. We got to be careful, brothers and sisters. We are in a time where these pharmaceutical companies are pretty much not untouchable. They have bought and sold the senators and anybody in the government, so that if they wind up causing problems with these medications, they already have clauses in these things that will exonerate them. You cannot trust. The minister said it. He said Africa. He was talking to all of us. We cannot trust their medications. We can't trust their vaccines. You can't trust their swabs on the test that they're saying. We cannot trust this medical industry. I don't care how many black faces you see in there. Yes, those black faces probably care more. Yes, those black faces probably have a better meaning to what they're doing than some other people. It's just proof. It's proof that if your doctor looks like you, that's more than likely where you're going to get the best care. That's scientific. That's not racism. That's science. They've proven this over and over and over again. But it's a system that I used to be a part of. So I know how brainwashed I was when I was in that system. And I'm not trying to put any of my brothers and sisters down that are out there in the medical field. But the reality is that the medical field has not, to date, January, whatever today's date is, what's the 28th of 2020, has not proved that it has done any good for us, period. You can't live your whole life taking medications and die with those same problems and then say that the medical industry that you were a part of did you any good. It's just not, that's not an accurate conclusion, right? That's an inaccurate conclusion. And so that's the answer to the person that asked me about steroids and immune booster. No, I don't think they should be taken together because I think it would be a waste of time. We talked about recovery after infection. We talked about that already with Brother Gerald, but if you are a person that's going through this, you're fighting it, you believe you're going to get over it, you have to have that in your mind. Just understand, be patient with yourself after you finish with the fevers and all that, because it's a little longer convalescent period than I've seen in other medical problems when it comes to viral and infections. And I wanted to clarify, on the last show when I was talking about an antigen, I was describing an antigen, and I used the example like if somebody were to break in here while I'm doing this show and I do whatever I do to them. When a virus breaks into a cell of a human body, it is trying to replicate itself. So it's going to use the available resources. Like if somebody were to break into your house or just come into your house, if they asked or whatever the case may be, and they say, can I go in your refrigerator and get some food? I'm hungry. Can I use your shower because I'm dirty? Can I use your bed because I'm tired? That would be realistic to think that somebody that came in your house will want those things. And so a virus plasmid or a virus particle, when it comes into the body, that's what it does. It comes into our cells and starts using the stuff in our cell to reproduce itself. And so that's why I use the explanation of a clone, right? And so when the body is showing the rest of the body what it needs to be aware of, it would be like if somebody came in my house, in this house while I'm doing this, and I did whatever I'm going to do to survive, and then I come and put them in front of here, or take them around and show them to everybody that I know. Hey, this is what it looks like. This is what the person that's breaking in people's homes looks like. So everybody will be aware. That's what an antigen in the human body, that's what the process is. The body's going to attack it, break it down, and then show to the rest of the cells, the rest of the organs of the body, hey, look, this is what you need to be aware of. This is what we're fighting. This is what has invaded us. And that's how the body boosts itself to make sure it's watching, like I've discussed before about those security guards, right? And so I just wanted to say that. So to Maxine Bland's question about people getting tested, I will kind of just go on a little more in depth of what I talked last week. Last week, Brother Warren came and talked about the fact that his mother is 90 years old and she has some medical problems. So that's why he decided to get tested, because he had some stuff going wrong in his house. So he was moving in her house temporarily before he moved into his place. So brothers and sisters, we have to think our way through these things. And I'm not trying to infer that Maxine Bland's not doing that. That's not my point. I'm just saying we all have to think through our individual process, right? If somebody is in your house and they have tested positive, the thought process that I would go through would be this. Okay, can we sit down and try to figure out when this person got infected, when they were tested, have they had any symptoms? If they have had symptoms, when did those symptoms start? How long have I potentially been exposed? Do I have any symptoms? Do I have anything? Did I lose my taste? Did I lose my smell? I would go through a logical process of trying to figure out, okay, have I been exposed? Have I had any? Have I not been paying attention? Have I had any symptomatology that may be associated with this virus? And that's the way I would determine what I need to do. But again, I don't suggest anybody get tested unless, let's say in this example that I'm giving, the person that tested positive and has some symptoms is a 16-year-old. We got a few 40-year-olds in the house, got a few younger people in the house, but we also have a 112-year-old person in the house who is older, a little more debilitated, not as strong, have a couple medical problems. Hey, yes, we may need to get these people tested because we don't want to cause that 112-year-old to get sick, and the likelihood is they're not going to make it. A 112-year-old person who has a lot of medical problems, debilitated, not possibly going to be able, let me not say they can't, but the likelihood is they're not going to have as much of a success with getting through things like Brother Gerald described, right? And so we have to be careful in our thought process about what we're going to do. If that 16-year-old was in a house and there are two 40-year-olds that do a good job of taking care of themselves, they're active, they eat right, they typically have a real good immune system. It's been years since they've been sick. The younger children are pretty good. They're pretty active. What I would do is try to isolate that person and keep them from around us as much. But I still wouldn't get tested because why? The likelihood is that the rest of us are going to be okay. If their symptoms are mild, they don't have a whole lot of symptoms, just a few things, then the likelihood is that if we keep taking care of ourselves well and or fast, we will be able to get through it well. Now, what am I basing it on? Like I said last time, Brandon, who eats one meal every 3 days, he and his wife both lost their smell and their taste. 3 or 4 days, came back, and they were right. They never got sick. They never had any symptoms. They never had fever, cough, runny nose, body aches. They never had any of that. But obviously, they got the virus in them because they lost their smell and their taste. But they quickly recovered, meaning that the places that they got it were the places that we defend ourselves. So to lose your smell makes sense because if somebody coughs on me and my body's going to attack that, I may get a little issue here in the nose, a little issue in the mouth. But when your immune system is weak, it's going to get all the way down into the lungs and to the rest of the body. And that's what we really want to try to stop from happening. So I pray that I answered all of the questions. I also wanted to make a comment on the statement last week that somebody mentioned about the blue zones of this country and the blue zones of the world. So I think there are a couple in Japan, one in China. There's one in Loma Linda, California. I think there's one somewhere in Minnesota, Canada. There are just a few places. I think there are a couple in Africa as well. There are a few places where people supposedly live longer than other people. And the person was saying that oregano seems to be the commonality. Well, there's a book that I read called Conquest of Death, and I can't even find it anymore. But it is a book that described a physician that went around the world to try to find old people. And as he was going around the world, he went to India. Yeah, I think it was India. And there was a woman who was a date farmer. When he approached this woman who was a date farmer, he said that he would compare her to what it looked like a 40-year-old in America. The woman was 180, I think 180 when he met her. She was a date farmer, a poor person. So during the time of the year when the dates were in abundance, the date farm owner would give the date pickers dates as part of their dietary intake. But during the time of the year where there were no dates, she wasn't eating much. She was going on like 60-day fast or 90 days and didn't have any food. And in one of her 90-day fasts, she grew a third set of teeth. Now, I'm sure some people are like, man, this man is crazy. Yeah, I am crazy because I don't allow the typical ideology that I was taught in medical school to keep me in that box. That book that I read was amazing. And the thing that was consistent through that book was fasting. People were getting major medical problems resolved and major issues in their body recovered through fasting. And so, yeah, the blue zone have some things that are common in all of them. And I learned from the person that mentioned that last night. I think it was, I can't remember who it was. I'm not going to say. I don't remember who it was, but the person that mentioned the oregano, that may be something that's common, but also the thing that is common in these areas of the world where people are living a long time, it's long periods of time in between meals, which is very consistent with how to eat to live. Okay. So I just wanted to mention that. The last thing that I want to ask before I get into a few slides is I want to ask if any of you have seen the debate about the vaccines between Dershowitz and Kennedy. I'm going to give you guys a little time to answer that for me. Let me know what you thought about that as I deal with some of your comments, and then we're going to get into these last slides and go ahead and close it out for the day. Okay. What would you suggest to educators preparing to return to school with children? Michelle X. Dye Young, another good question. I would suggest that you have a daily routine of doing the things that I suggest to boost your immune system. And I also, if I was a teacher, if I was working in hospitals, if I was going to be going back around people, I would be taking this immuno boost every day. Just being honest with you, because I want to make sure that my system is at its highest ability to take care of me in a environment where potentially I'm going to get exposed. And I will say to all of you that work in the prison systems and all of you that work in schools, if they do allow, and for the prisons, I mean, you just need to be on it. But if you are in a situation where you're going back into school and they're going to allow the children to come back to the schools, there is no way that you're going to get a child to not spread germs. That's just not possible. Usually schools are where most flus and all that kind of stuff are mostly being spread, because children are going to talk all up in each other's face. They're going to cough on each other. They're going to sneeze on each other. They're going to talk. They're not going to be controlled. They're not going to keep a mask on. So a school environment is going to be a very potentially great place for the spread. So I would, if I was a teacher and I had to go back to teaching in a school, I would wear a mask. I would be doing my activities to make sure that I'm staying healthy, and I would do the immune boost supplement. So I pray to answer your question. Have you done any research on neem leaf? Yes, I have. I actually have done some research on that. Do you have any specific question about it? Let me know. I have a whole lot of questions, y'all. Where was I? Oh, there we are. Okay. Victor X says, how long should we take Immune Boost 100? I would say that if you aren't confident with your immune system, I would take it until this threat is over. I'm going to make a few comments specifically about Immuno Boost 100 at the end, because I've gotten some feedback from some people that I think I need to communicate with you all. If you have or you haven't ordered the product from me. So thank you for that question, Victor. Danny says, how long do you think the pestilence will continue? Do you think it will weaken? Yeah, the reality is that right now, let's put this in perspective, right? We're at 16 million people that have been infected. We have approximately 7.5 billion people on the planet. So in context of the population of the planet, that's still a small percentage. But if you get a chance to look at the worldometer, I think I have a benefit in that. I have a engineering friend, my friend David Tonsall, who has posted like some screenshots that he took in March, and then he took some more in other times. So I've been able to go back and make these comparisons. And the rise in America in March into April is like, let's say, for instance, that was the rise. It's not accurate, but I'm just using an example. If the rise was that in March and April, the rise now is more like this. The rise is much more exponential. And so I think, based on just what I'm seeing, and then before that, what the minister said, that this is going to get a lot worse, I'm expecting things to get horrible. I'm expecting things to be I'm expecting these numbers to get really bad. And I unfortunately said that a while back, because just of the way, especially in this country, where I thought the information coming from the so-called government was just ridiculous. They never had any unified effort and gave the public any good information. Like I said, when you're driving around and you're seeing people wearing masks, and you see people wearing gloves in their car, in the store, back in their car, that's an ignorance. That we shouldn't fault those people. We should fault the people that are in the position that should be educating these people. And so because of the lack of information, and because of just a lot of people, I think, still out here that are not taking it serious, I think we're going to have a lot. I can't predict anything. I can't say anything specific, but I pray that we all are able to make it through. Darlene Paisley, thank you, ma'am. Queen Serene says, how can we choose the right supplements for us individually? That's actually a good question. I'm going to get to that in a minute, okay? But I will say this, just as a general answer to your question. I'm really not into supplements. I don't think supplements are better than going to food. And when I finish with what I'm going to show you guys in a few minutes, I pray that you say the same, and maybe you will stop thinking about spending your money on supplements, and you'll spend your money in the grocery store trying to find the best of foods. Okay. So, but great question, Queen Serene. How long does steroids stay in your system if you had injections for pain? It's different for each person. It depends on how active you are, how much water you drink, how often you hydrate. But typically when we put a steroid shot in a person, let me just speak for myself. I would generally not do it for a minimum of 3 months, because steroids usually will go into the tissues of the body when you put it in a particular area. And some of that does absorb into some of the fat tissue. So it can be there for pretty long times. But typically, I noticed that in my patients, the effect of steroids usually lasted for about 3 months. And that was usually the kind of pushing it to the limit. And so I would say probably somewhere around 3 to 5 months, depending on how active and how much a person drinks water. Of course, the more active and the more a person drinks water and hydrates themselves, the faster you would get those steroids out of your system. So Queen Serene says, so an asthma inhaler is decreasing the immune system. Well, it depends. If you are doing the type of asthma inhaler that's just a beta agonist, that's working on some of the ways that we open up and relax smooth muscle cells. But if you have an asthma inhaler that has a steroid in it, absolutely. Because when you inhale that asthma inhaler, it's going into your lungs, but your lungs are depositing that into your bloodstream. So yes, it is decreasing your immune system all over the body. Yes. Carl Brown, walaikum salam. Kia Gradney, I was just prescribed an inhaler for my cough. What I would suggest you do, sister, is forget about that inhaler and go to my YouTube page or my Facebook page or my IG page and look at my immune boosting tea. That would be much more beneficial to you than an inhaler for a cough. Raniel Bird Muhammad says some studies have found that people exposed to the virus have an overactive immune response, a cytokine storm, and that makes them more sick. The corticosteroids were provided to counteract that. Yeah, my sister, I would not agree with that in the same way that I don't agree that in a person with a autoimmune disorder, their immune system is attacking them. No, that's not what I believe. I will never believe that purported idea, because the God that we serve is perfect. And these bodies, when you take care of them perfectly, act perfectly. And so when a person has an autoimmune disorder, they are having things that are deposited in the tissues, like I just finished talking about those steroids. And when the immune system comes to clear out problems, it's clearing out problems. So if you have a medication that's in your tissue, you have a toxin that's in your tissue, you have an infection from a virus, bacteria, anything like that, the immune system is going to attack that. And then there's collateral damage to the tissue in that area. That's just the reality, right? If I were to cut myself right now, you all would see my skin swell up, right? So the immune system is going to come there and start looking and trying to protect. And so some of that tissue that's around that cut, the swelling, there's some collateral damage. It's just the reality of how our body fixes itself. And so when we're talking about the cytokine storm, my experience with the cytokine storm and my study of the cytokine storm is that this is a philosophy of people, and we haven't proven anything, like a lot of things. And then as time goes on, we look back and say, that's not really what's happening. But the cytokines in the human body are for 100% of solving problems in the body. There are cytokines that increase inflammation, and there are cytokines that decrease inflammation. And the balance is always right in line when we're doing the right things to take care of ourselves. So when the body gets to a place where a cytokine, when we call it a cytokine storm, what's really happening is the body is in total confusion. The body is in a place where it thinks it's going to die. And it's similar to when I was talking about the first time that those of us that are in the medical field saw blood. We didn't sit there and say, oh, I handle blood because I was born this way. No. The first time we saw blood, the first time we saw surgery, the first time we heard somebody crack a bone in a chest or crack a bone to fix it, we got sick. We passed out. Some of us had to walk out the room. Why? Because that is a serious effect on the human body. And we go into this storm of all these hormones being run around the body. And it's the same thing when the body thinks it's going to die. A cytokine storm is a last-ditch effort to live. because cytokine storm is not happening in people that are having a small effect. Cytokine storms is happening to people that are in the ICU and they have tubes down their throat and they're going into organ failure. The body is going crazy and it's trying to figure out, how do I solve this problem? But how do you solve a problem in a person that hasn't been taking care of themselves for 30, 40 years? I hope you all see where I'm coming from. See, the toolbox is not ready. The cytokine storm is a last ditch effort to save this body, but your toolbox is empty. So the cytokine storm is trying to make something happen, but there's no backup. And so to me, the cytokine storm is a misunderstanding of the body, just like people misunderstand the body when they talk about autoimmune disorders. And some people might be saying right now, well, who are you to disagree? I've proven it in my experience with people that I've worked with who have solved autoimmune disorders. They weren't on steroids. They got off the steroids. They weren't on the medications that they were being prescribed. They got off the medications. And so it's been proven to me in my work with people. And so that's how I come to that same conclusion when we're talking about the cytokine storm. Yes, there is something crazy going on with the body, but the body's not confused. The body is always trying to do the best it can to survive at the best rate. And the unfortunate thing is that most of us aren't doing the right things to give it the support that it needs. So let me know if I answered your question, Reneel Burden Muhammad. I pray that you understand. I'm not trying to argue. I'm just trying to look at it from the perspective that I do. Just turn back in. Did he say that inhalers are bad? Yes, I did. You had to check it out. Absolutely correct. I work in the pharmaceutical clinical research industry. Yes, ma'am. Has it been effectively working for you, or did you refuse the use of it? I'm not sure what you're talking about, my sister. Okay. I see some of y'all having conversation with each other. Y'all getting me confused. Let me just move on. Sister Ava referenced the debate between Kennedy and Dershowitz on vaccine. Yes. What a wise, evil move of their plan to kill off many Black by orchestrating economics by allowing a pharmaceutical company to make money based on the plan of culling by making people sick. That's right. Raniel Burden says, I'm a clinical project manager for drug trials. Okay. Oh, yeah, you're talking to Byron. Y'all having your own conversation. That's good. Roger says, my neighbor volunteered to take one of the vaccines and asked me if I would consider doing it also. I said, absolutely not. She asked, why not? And I gave all the same reasons you just noted, saying, I don't trust him and those making them. Yeah. I mean, so far, what I have seen in my research is there are a lot of white people that are actually going and volunteering. There are probably some other ones, but I'm saying the only ones I've seen are white folks that are doing this. They don't have the same history that we have with the medical industry. I'm not saying that white people haven't been tested on. I'm not saying that there haven't been some ill things done to white folks. There have, but not on the same level as Black and brown and indigenous people, nowhere close. We have no, and this, I actually mean this, we have no right to trust the medical community. If you trust them, it's out of your ignorance. You just don't know enough about it. And that's why I keep talking about medical apartheid. If you trust the medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, the vaccine departments, the hospital departments, the clinic departments, the emergency rooms, the what are those things called? The urgent care centers. If you trust any of that, what you should do is go buy Medical Apartheid during this time that we're living in right now. If you have some time to do some reading and read that book, changed everything for me. That's right. Forget that job. Oh, Kia says you still haven't gotten your smell back. Oh, wow. Most people that I talk to, they seem to get it back pretty quick. So let me know. Keep me updated on that, how it works. Mina Malki says, Assalamu alaikum wa alaikum salam. Please read my message I sent you a couple of weeks ago. Okay. If you send it to me in Messenger, sister, please send it to me another way. I really don't mess with Messenger. So either send it to my email address, theultimatewellnessgroup@gmail.com, or, take my number, send me a text message tomorrow so you can give me your email address and we can communicate that way. Brothers and sisters, that's a good point. I do not mess with Messenger. I have seen some very wicked stuff with Messenger, and I just am not going to allow myself to put myself in the possibility of those type of things. I'm not really going to get into that today, but I'm just being honest. I don't mess with Facebook Messenger at all. So please don't send me messages through that because I'm not checking it. So thank you for that point, Sister Mina. Erica Perez, Costa Rica. I'm not sure what you meant by that. Drew Janine, you said it was a great debate. Okay. Electronics, it was quite interesting. Charles X, more. I guess you're saying no, you didn't watch it. Lynn Oil says yes, a must see. Immune boosting tea, Khalila Muhammad. I don't know if you're asking me a question, but that's on all of my social media sites. Donna Carter says I'm a special education teacher. Oh yeah, yeah. So you are. I mean, I used to have quite a few patients that were in special education, and yeah, that's going to put you at a risk, sister. So make sure you take care of yourself. Please do everything you can to keep yourself at the best you can, because you are definitely putting yourself at risk with a child who doesn't have the ability to protect you, right? Drew Janine says RFJ exposed vaccine injury and the fact that the COVID vaccine still allows asymmetric spread, but those refusing vaccination will be quarantined. We see what is coming down the line. Yes. Queen Serene used it once and didn't like the way it made me feel. Could you give the name of the book again? The name of the book is, actually two books, The Conquest of Death. And I actually don't know the name of the author because it was produced by a society. And then the other book was Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. Medical Apartheid by Harriet Washington. The other one was Conquest of Death. What I'm going to do probably on one of the next shows is I'll try to bring the book and show it to you. And maybe as a group of brothers and sisters, we can go on a quest to try to find this book. We'll probably have to find it at places like Half Price Books, or maybe even, some other places that sell used books. But it's not in print anymore. And it's pretty difficult to find, but it is an excellent read. I read it probably about 3 or 4 years after I really started to get into How to Eat to Live, and it was amazing in the confidence and the way it opened up my mind to not believe there are any restrictions, to not believe that there's anything that this body can't heal. After reading that book, I was absolutely convinced. The only thing that I'm waiting to do right now is to prove that with somebody that has cancer. And if God says the same, I'm in that process right now. But every other medical problem, every other system of medical problems, I've already seen it happen. So that book freed me from any limitations. There is no box, no octagon, no circle, no nothing that can put me back in any type of restrictions ever again. That's what that book did for me. So it is an amazing book. Darlene Muhammad says infections from school, pink eyes, ringworms, friends, child foot. Yeah, all of that stuff, right? All of those things are proof that children are not exactly the best place to be around when you're trying to keep yourself from getting an infection. Those of you that have to do what you have to do, we salute you, just like we salute those people in the hospitals and all that are trying to do the best that they can. But, you have to spend every day making sure you're doing something to put you in the best place. Electron, do you have any evidence that previous vaccines could have contributed to this pandemic? Actually, the only evidence that I have with that would be the interview that Minkovich did, where she talked about all the processes that she had been a part of in producing HIV and producing Ebola. That would be all that I have, bro. I mean, like I said in one of my past programs, they don't usually let average any-day people in these type of organizations. When you get a job at CDC, they do extensive background checks on you. When you go to certain aspects of this government and some of the very diabolical things that they have that they don't want the public to know about, they have a very specific type of person that they bring up in there. They do a background search on you, and there usually are not very many black people that work up in these places. And I'll be honest with you, when I joined the Nation of Islam, I had a friend of mine in Washington, D.C., who went and applied for a job with the government. He was trying to get a contract, whatever type of work that he was trying to do. And they literally asked him about me, what his relationship with me, because they said, he changed his name from Akili Graham to Akili Graham Muhammad on his Facebook page. Do you know why he did that? He told me that they were literally asking him questions like that. What kind of relationship do you have? What kind of influence does he have over you? Does he help you make decisions? These are the type of questions they were asking him in the interview about me. So, I mean, these type of things are real, brothers. These people have a certain way that they go about picking what they do. And when they're going to do something, they try to do the best they can to find me people that they know are not going to go and be whistleblowers. So I don't really have a lot of information about some of the secret things that happen other than when people come out and they tell us about it. Lauren says, would you give a pregnant woman a steroid shot when she is almost due? No, I wouldn't. I would have never done that. No. And the reason is because, what I said, it shuts down the immune system. And if you give a pregnant woman a steroid shot right before she delivers, that immune system is going to shut down her immune system. And the baby's immune system is coming from where? From the mother. So now you've pretty much put that baby at a high risk of being infected before they even leave the hospital. So now I would have never done anything like that. And some doctors do those type of things because that's their protocols and they don't even think about what they're doing to that baby. Lynn Oil says the debate provided all the evidence one would need to make an informed decision. Okay, good. Sagir Hassan, I had steroids stacked for pain in left and lower back. Yeah, I actually used to do them. I mean, they were very effective. They definitely help people with back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain. I used to do them, but I think I was responsible. If a person came to me and they just, didn't do the dietary changes and just couldn't get rid of their pain, I don't have a problem using medications when people don't have any other thing. But anytime I gave a steroid shot, I always tried to give people the type of information where this is what you need to do to try to make sure you don't have to come back and get it again, because it doesn't make a difference how fast your pain comes back. My limit is you got to wait at least 3 months. That was the protocol in my office. Maurice Williams, Dr. Kitty, what if you suffer from seasonal allergies, however, but do not have a cold or a flu? Well, if you suffer from seasonal allergies, I mean, the reality is that that's because there are certain toxins in your body that you need to get rid of. I have helped countless people get over seasonal allergies. So if that's something you're interested in, reach out to me. That's definitely something that you can solve in a very short period of time. Keep on having your thoughts on meatless burgers. The majority of meatless burgers that are out there are soy-based or some other type of stuff that is not good. The only like meatless meat that I even eat or suggest is dang, it would slip my mind that quick, but when I think about it, I'll let you know. But no, the meatless burgers, I all the ones that I've researched, they're horrible for you, and will definitely cause a lot of problems in your body, especially decreasing your immune system. Dang, it almost came to me. I'll get it in a minute, y'all. Oris Williams, does boosting the immune system? Damn, these messages sometimes be just moving by so fast, y'all. And I'm going to try to get finished with this quickly, y'all, because I don't want to be in here all night, okay? Does boosting immune system status help allergy sufferers during COVID-19? That's actually a very good question. I would say that when a person has allergies, that is a good immune system. That is your immune system doing its job. It's trying to flush stuff out. It's coughing, sneezing, runny eyes, itchiness, all that. Those are the signs that your immune system is doing a good job and trying to get this crap out of your body that doesn't need to be in there. So I would say a person that has seasonal allergies, until you start taking those medications and steroids and all that kind of stuff, your immune system was doing what it was supposed to do. Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Sister Renelle Burden Muhammad. Yes, sir. Carl Brown, that's good. Miss Aisha, what should people do with lupus? If you have lupus, reach out to me, please. All my information is down there. Let's get busy. I have successfully seen people with many different types of autoimmune disorders walk up out of having to take medications, steroids, and all that kind of stuff. But it takes work. It's going to take some investigation and work. Yes, powerful book, Lynn Oil. Navy bean burgers are the best meatless alternative. Good point. Yes, ma'am. Roger Barnes also noted to my neighbor, who is a brown person, that black and brown people are being infected the most, so it makes sense that they would want to experiment on us. A larger scale Tuskegee experiment. Fortunately, just saw a report saying that they are having an issue getting us to volunteer for vaccine trials. Yes, and that's why I keep saying, excellent point, Roger. I keep saying that Black people are waking up. Black people are starting to see and starting to connect the dots. And, a large aspect of social media was to spy on us and to see what was going on in our communities. But it also is doing a good job of making sure that people are exposed to information. And once we get exposed to the information, we got to do something with it. Sister Erica Perez says Nicoya and Costa Rica is a blue zone. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're actually right. Now that you mentioned that, I do remember that. Yes. And Costa Rica is a blue zone, different from some of those other places. Costa Rica is a blue zone because of the fact that most of the Costa Rican people in some of those areas that they call the blue zones live primarily on the land. They don't do a whole lot of, buying products and man-made things and all that kind of stuff, from my understanding. So let me know if I'm correct, Sister Erica. Local libraries may have that book. Yeah. So if any of you find, I just had a crazy thought to my head. I said, if we find it in the library, I'm gonna steal it. No, I'm not gonna do that. That's the thought that came to my mind, but I'm gonna murder that thought. Now I'm not gonna steal it. What we have to do is, if we find it in the library, we'll have to contact the library and find out if we can find their source, right? But that's a book that I think any person that has a plan on keeping their health right, that's something that we have to read. When I'm standing in lines. When I'm standing in lines at stores, I feel for the parents of toddlers because I watch them touching everything. Yeah. It would be really wonderful if we had the Ultimate Wellness Group book club. The first book we read could be Medical Apartheid. Erica Perez, look at you with that good idea. All right. Well, there you go, Erica Perez. Put something out there, y'all. Let me know. Do you want to have a book club? And we will read some of the books that we agree to, or if you all want me to make the suggestions of what we should read that will help us and get our knowledge up, I'm with it. I'm really with it. That would be good, because I actually told myself, Sister Erica, just a couple of months ago that I was going to go back and read all these books again, because it's been a few years since I've read them all. I read How to Eat to Live every year, but those books I don't read every year, but I need to pick them back up to kind of see what my viewpoint will be at a book at this point in my stage of growth. Okay, I'm gonna. Oh yeah, Christine Crowder, you ain't lying. Sister Harry Washington got a vocabulary out of this world. I was in my dictionary as much as I was in her book when I was reading it. She got a serious vocabulary for sure. Queen Serene says yes to the book club. All right. Oh, another one, book club. Okay, so all right, let's do it then. Victor, oh damn, what happened to your comment? Victor says they have several companies that are already in phase 3 trials, human testing. Can you speak to how long in average it usually takes for a medication to reach human trials? Oh man. Yeah. Typically in human trials, you have to do that after you do laboratory trials, and then you do animal trials. And if there are no problems in those animal trials, then you go to humans. And first you do humans that volunteer and know that there's potentially some risk. And then you go to a point where you get to trials where you start doing people, like there'll be the placebo versus the people that are actually getting medication. That process used to be at minimum 7 years. So no company could actually start human trials until they were actually in that process for 7 years. When the pharmaceutical companies went to the government and basically paid them and basically gave them shut up money, the whole process with vaccines is null and void. There are some vaccines, as Robert Kennedy said in that debate, that they have less than 2 days of trials, less than 72 hours of trials, meaning that they did it in the laboratory and then they went into animals and they went straight and started doing it in humans and didn't even go through the process of seeing what would happen in humans over long periods of time. So these pharmaceutical companies and these vaccines, they cannot get sued. When we know about the vaccine injury reporting system and the suits that are coming out of that, we know they're liable. That's why they're paying billions of dollars. They're up into, I think, if I remember correctly, there's somewhere about $5 to $6 billion that has already been paid out to people that have been injured by vaccines. But yet you still have doctors that are leaning on the fact that vaccines don't cause any problems. How in the hell could you be so blind? is because the medical industry, and that's one of the things that was said that I wanted to comment on about that vaccine debate, is Dershowitz said something stupid. There's a lot of the stupid things he said, that we should trust the science, but don't trust the scientists. Hell, the science is done by the scientists. Kind of a dumbass question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to curse. I didn't mean to curse. But what kind of a dumb statement is that? It's like, you know, when we say things like you can't have a spider web without a spider. The science that is being done and that is being given to medical students and doctors is science that's being done by very highly questionable people. And the unfortunate thing is, just like I was when I was in medical school, I believed in the system. I believed it was the right thing. When I graduated, I believed I had the best education. And it was life experiences and experiences in the medical field that made me come to the conclusion, man, this was a lie that I paid for. This was a lie that I believed in. And unfortunately, most doctors aren't willing to make that sacrifice because it was a difficult sacrifice. They would rather just keep on plugging and be stressed out and then start drinking on Thursday for happy hour to get over all the anxiety they're going through. But at the end of the day, the trials that they're doing with these vaccines, they're not going to be worth anything. And what they are going to do is give it to people, and we're going to watch the reality of what the horrible consequences of these vaccines by watching what happens to the public when they roll it out. So that's the reality, Brother Victor. It's a good question, but we can't trust these people, and we can't trust what they come out with. All right, so I see more and more people are on. And you know what? Maybe what we'll do is we'll start off with medical apartheid. What about that? So it looks like there are enough people that are saying yes to the book club. How about we start with medical apartheid? But I'm going to tell y'all right now, as big as our vocabulary is, we're going to have to make that book August and September. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go by the next show. I will look at how many days are in August, how many days are in September, and however many number of days there is, and however many number of books are in her, how many number of pages are in her book, we'll break it down to how many pages we're going to read a day, right? So we can take our time, read it, understand the words, and then we can have a short section of discussion on the shows. We'll discuss what we read, you know, what was the reality, what of those of us have experienced some of that, and then maybe some of you all will come on the show. Some of you all that are in the medical field, or some of you that have seen something like that happen in your family, or maybe some of you may know somebody that was in the Tuskegee experiment, or maybe some of you know some of the people that were in the prisons in the 40s and the 50s in Philadelphia that had all those skin tests done on them. So yeah, let's get into it. Y'all let me know if that sounds like a good idea. Yes. I'm agreeing with all these statements. So I'm gonna have to go ahead and get to the end, y'all, because I don't want to be here all night. Okay. So, okay. The last thing that I want to say, I wanted to know what you all thought about the vaccine debate, because I actually have zero trust in either one of them. I've read Kennedy's book, and I think that Kennedy, of course, is telling some truth. And I know that a lot of the things that he's saying is based in truth because it's very in line with a lot of the science that I've done. But I didn't really learn much because I had done that research, right? And the things that Kennedy is saying, you know, at the end of the day, he's a rich white man. And I haven't really seen, in my experience, any reliance on so-called allies, right? Because that's what people are saying, that Kennedy is an ally. And they say that about his uncle and his father. Discussion for another time, but I, based on my research and the things that they implemented when they were in the government, they weren't our friends at all. They were never friends of black people. But the point that I'm making is the minister called Dershowitz Satan masquerading as a lawyer. You know, we can look at the type of work that Kennedy has done over the years, and we can say that maybe he's not a bad man. I don't know. I can't evaluate that. But what I know is that I don't trust people like that. And until we find that we can trust them, then cool, we can make that determination. But what I'm saying is that we have to be careful of any of these type of people. I don't even understand what was the purpose of the debate. Here it is, a man that wants to make vaccinations mandatory. And as the minister said, when he came on the debate, he very skillfully used those words to make it seem like that's not what he meant. But that was just a bold-faced lie. But why would Kennedy even want to have a conversation with somebody that he knows is an evil person that's been affiliated with so much evilness over the years? And I know Brother Reza brought Kennedy to meet with the minister, and that's how the whole thing got started with the vax thing and all that kind of thing. But hey, look, I'm just telling y'all, from a scientific perspective, where I sit, we are going to have to rely on ourselves. We're going to have to rely on the people that look like us and that have proven track record of being for us and with us and not being on the side of the enemy to be able to give us good information. I am not trying to down Kennedy. I'm not trying to say he's a bad person. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is that I can't trust anybody until I figure out I can trust them. And so I'm saying that because to me, that was the type of discussion that is similar to how the police used to do us when we were young coming up in California. Even if it was a black police and a white police, it would be the black police would be trying to get on our good side while the white police was trying to kill us. Or sometimes if it was two white police, they try to play that little good cop, bad cop. But both of y'all are devil, evil murderers. So at the end of the day, I can't say that that's what it is, but that's what was on my mind while I was watching it. Now saying, what if this man is trying to set us up to believe that he's this Pied Piper to help our community, and we follow along because he did say that he's not against vaccines? Well, your brother right here is against vaccines in the way that this country has been doing them, the way this medical industry has poured this into our children's brains and caused all these issues that we are sure they cause. And so I can't trust people when they speak like that. So that's just my take on it. I pray that all of us continue to do our research, continue to educate ourselves on all of these type of things, and continue to make sure that we're aware. I do believe that this is a good show for you to come and get that type of information, but it's also something that we as individuals have to do. So let me go real quick through these slides real quick, because I wanted to show these and then we're going to end. Okay. I'm just going to go through them. I may not go through them in line, but I'm going to go through them so that you all can see what I was trying to get across. So here you go. Selenium, very important in our immune system being strong. And you can see there it says 12 foods rich in selenium: bananas, kiwi. I'm only going to mention the ones, let me not say that. You guys can see the thing, but grapefruit, that's where you can get a lot of your quinine, right? And those mulberries or any type of the berries, they all have selenium in them. You can get a lot of the zinc and a lot of other things are in them. But the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said in How to Eat to Live that we could eat all fruits, eat as much fruit as you like. Just make sure that they have seeds in them in 2020, okay? So if you need to boost your selenium, this is where I was suggested. And Sister Queen Serene, this is what I was mentioning earlier. Yes, you can go and you can buy a product in an herbal store or some other place that has selenium in it, but the best place that God put it is in the food. So that's kind of where I come from a basis of how to eat to live. I like to go to the foods, and that's why I'm showing these last slides, so that if anybody that has listened to me over the last however long they've been listening to me over, especially over the last few months since we've been dealing with this coronavirus, I am going to show slides of foods that have these things that we need to boost our immune system, okay? Okay, next slide is so these are more selenium rich foods, but I wanted to show this. I hope you all can see that. I wanted to show this because most of the stuff on here, they're talking about meats. So if you're vegetarian, you're not going to eat these meats. You don't have to eat meats. So that's why I showed the fruit first. Some of these things on here, we don't even eat. They got, stuff that we don't eat on here. But eggs are good for you. Got to make sure there's no soy in them. That has selenium in it. And then some of these fish are here, right? The Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that we should eat fish between 1 and 10 pounds. And so it's not a bad idea if you're a fish eater to eat fish to get some selenium, and that will help boost your immune system. And also understand that those of us that live in Texas, and even those of you live anywhere in the world, you can't eat fish too much. Down here in Texas, we had that oil spill down in the Gulf. They put all those chemicals in there to drop all that oil down. The fish and the seafood and all the stuff that's coming out of the Gulf is horrible. And when I go to restaurants on the occasion that I do, I always ask, does this come from the Gulf? I'm not going to eat it. because there's too many chemicals down there that are causing people major medical problems. But you can't eat too much fish, period, anywhere in the world because of the toxins that are in the oceans. We got to do that sparingly. But the fruit you can eat every time you eat. Okay, so let's make sure we're concentrating on these fruits. I'm going to show this just very quickly because this is too much of a slide for me to do this late in the show. But if you all get a chance, just look the slide up yourself and do a little, just do a little reading. This is just selenium and how it is interacting with a lot of the different aspects of the body. So again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time because we've been on the show for quite a while. But do a little research. You know, sometimes you just have to plug that in, say selenium and the immune system, or selenium and how it affects the body. And instead of reading all those long articles, just go to one of the images and just, you know, do a little research and learn a few things. And then, you know, if you have any questions, come ask me. You know, we'll talk about them on here if you like. But I think it's important for us to know that we can go to our food, and that's the way to get the best health is through the food, not through buying products, spending our money. And then, you know, we have to rely on these people. It's better to try to find the best of foods and let's get them from there. Next is going to be a zinc. And then the other thing is that remember that if you go to a food to get zinc, you're not just going to get zinc by itself. You're going to get zinc, selenium. There's going to be some vitamins in there. There's going to be some other nutrients in there. And that's the thing about food is it's put in the exact way that it's supposed to go into your body and do what it do. Do what it do, right? So again, here's a list of zinc foods, and most of these things we don't eat or shouldn't eat if we're basing our life on how to eat to live. But I just wanted to show the same thing. You know, you don't have to eat the things that you don't eat. You don't have to worry about the things that are not part of your diet. What you do is have to worry about the things that are. And so again, here we go again with the fruits that have zinc in them. So again, another reason why we should be eating our zinc. Look at those fruits on there, right? I just let you all go on there. You can also go and do the research yourself. But we should be eating fruits on a regular basis in a time like we're in, because that's going to be probably the best food, second to bean soup and that whole milk, to boosting the immune system. Your fruits are going to be the best foods that you can put in your body. So there you see 15 zinc-rich fruits. So again, go and do your own research and look at those fruits. And let's start eating them, okay? Next is going to be real quickly. So just real quickly, I just want to show this again. This is something that you're going to do. You can see if you have a zinc deficiency, and you can see if you have a zinc excess. So that's why I say all the time, when some of us are going to the store and we're going to the so-called health food store, we get this bottle of zinc and we get this, this bottle with zinc in it. We get this bottle with calcium and we get this bottle with the B vitamins. Number one is we have to understand where those things are made from. Most of the ones that are on the market are made synthetically in a laboratory. But if you're taking a zinc tablet by itself, are you doing too much? Are you getting enough? When you do the food, usually you're getting it right in where you need it. And you see right here in the middle, it says balanced immune system, cells, numbers, and functions, and balance between tolerance and defense mechanisms, right? So that means what? The body's ability to look at things and allow certain things in that's okay for the body to use, and then things that it deems that needs to be removed. The body is in balance when it's doing its best. And so when it's at its best, it's in balance, right? And so that's what we need to do, is always make sure that we're doing things in a way that is balanced. And I don't think there is any way to do that better than the way Allah balances our foods. And for all those that think there are no more nutrients left in the soil, okay, if that's the argument you want to use, then how the hell did they get it in that substance in that bottle that you take? Don't bring that to a scientist, right? So when we're going to scientifically evaluate something, there is nothing that a man can make that can beat what God made. And that fruit tree and that plant that the food is coming off of, or that we're digging out of the ground, has to be a better process than anything they do in the laboratory. I'll go with that any day. And I hope you understand why. Real quickly, what's the importance of vitamin C? So you see right there, it says it strengthens our skin, right? We always talk about the barrier methods. The skin keeps the infection out, the nose and the mouth. The immune system being in this area will keep the infection out. So the skin is stronger with vitamin C. The vitamin C increases and boosts the function of the white blood cells. And then you see at the end, It also is part of the phagocytosis and the removal system, which is our lymph system, which gets rid of once our immune system attacks something. Once they engulf it and they take it to pieces and they do all the things they have to do, that is now trash in the body. You got to get rid of that stuff. We have a memory. It's like putting it in a book, right? I sit here and have a conversation with somebody. I write it in my book, and I'm going to forever know it. Why? Because I looked at it, I wrote it, I heard it. It's forever in my memory. It's in my book. Now I can get rid of that stuff. So that's what the body does. Vitamin C, very important to the immune system. Where can you get most of your vitamin C? In fruits. So it's very, very, very important, I think, to have gone through this, because this might be the last time I talk about coronavirus, because I don't think I really have anything else to talk about. Once we have our mind made up, then we're going to do the things we need to do. We don't have to worry about it. We just keep moving, right? So here's just quickly, vitamin C is very important in the innate immunity and the adaptive immunity. What's the difference? The innate immunity is just the basic things that are there to attack anything that comes in that's a foreign body. So I would take that like if we are, security minded, somebody runs in this house. Hey, I don't know you. I don't know what you're doing in here. I'm going to attack you and try to get you out of here. But if there was a paramilitary person or a person that has some type of training and we needed a specific person like Brother William who does taekwondo, or somebody else that does karate, or somebody that does grappling. So if a person was going to run in here and they have a very specific purpose and we need a specific person with a specific type of ability to deal with that specific threat, then now you have a specific thing. So adaptive immunity is when something comes in the body and then the body has to look at it, evaluate it, and say, okay, I need you over here. I need you to handle this. Whereas the innate immunity just goes and attacks anything that comes in that it sees not supposed to be there. Vitamin C, very important in that process. So you can't have a good immune system without your vitamin C being right. So, right, get those fruits in you. And then lastly, we're going to deal with vitamin D. So there you see there on this slide, over here will be the only part that I disagree. It says sunlight a major source of vitamin D. No, it's not. Food is the source of vitamin D, and we change it in the kidney and the liver, and we make it into that substance that is right there. It's not necessary for y'all to know that, but that's just pre-D3. And once we get those warming rays on the skin, it activates it into active D3. So when you go to the store and you buy a tablet of D3, how could they possibly have done to that tablet what your body did in this very intricate system that I'm showing you right here? No comparison. So get you some of that whole milk, get you some of those eggs from those chickens that do not eat soy. Those, in my research, are the best sources of vitamin D. And then lastly, here's your innate immune system again. So we're talking about vitamin D. And so all those little cells over there, and it's not necessarily important for you all to understand, but just understand that every single one of those different colored cells there on the left of the slide have a very specific purpose. If I cut my skin, there's a certain amount of cells that are going to show up there. If I breathe something in, there's certain type of cells that are going to be there. There's a certain type of cells that are running in the bloodstream. That's not necessary for you. Those of you who are not in the field or not really desirous of knowing all that's not necessarily know, but I just, for your basic knowledge, there are different type of cells that do what they do. And vitamin D is very important in making sure that all of those systems are connected and all those systems are working, functioning in that balance that we talked about earlier. And then most importantly, vitamin D is optimally involved in brain function, very intricate, how it deals with moving information and solving its own problems and keeping itself healthy, as well as the whole hormonal system in the human body is regulated and somewhat kept in balance by vitamin D. Part of it is the thyroid, and the vitamin D works very closely with the thyroid. And so it's very important for us to make sure that we are getting these things in our daily, and I do mean our daily habits, okay? So yes, your daily habits should include some exercise and some vitamin D food, some vitamin C food, some selenium food, some zinc foods, which if you eat enough fruit, you're getting all that together. The only thing that you would have to add into that as far as those specific vitamins would be your milk products or your eggs to get that vitamin D. And understand that vitamin C is something that we use every day. And if we have excess, we'll urinate it out. Vitamin D, you don't have to eat every day because we store some of that in our fat cells. And so you'll have some of that kind of lingering in the body over time. But I would say in a time like we're living in right now, I try to get vitamin D at least 2 or 3 times a week. And I try to eat fruit every time that I eat. And so that is today's show, brothers and sisters. I really pray that I have supplanted in you the strength and the mentality to know that you can make it through these times. But you got to put in the work. You got to put in the work like I'm putting in the work, because I don't want to be a hypocritical person sitting up in front of you talking one thing and then doing something other. I also don't want to pose myself as something perfect. I had chips this weekend. I had a cheat day. I had chips and I ate some stuff that I wasn't supposed to eat. But to be honest with you, since this COVID thing has come in, I've probably done that maybe 2 or 3 times in 5-6 months, right? Because I don't want to allow myself to get weak. I don't want to allow myself to get susceptible. And so I would suggest you all do the right thing, specifically those of you who have medical problems. Don't beat yourself up. Don't get hard on yourself. Start today. Start tonight. Before you go to bed, meditate on what you're going to do tomorrow. Meditate on what plan you're going to institute. If you need some help, I'm here. But if you want to do it yourself, put in the work. I've just given you enough information right now where you can put a meal plan together to some degree to make sure that you're getting some things. Make sure you're getting the best of food. You should never put anything that's not organic in your mouth. And the more natural food you put in your body and things that you have to prepare yourself, the better than going to a package or something that somebody else made. Let's do the work. Let's do the work. Let's do the work. So I'm very thankful for all of you that come. I'm thankful for all of you that have ever said anything as a compliment to you. To me, I'm thankful for all of you that continue to support and infuse the good ideas. I believe that we have a growing community here that is growing into a family. And I think we're going to have some real good things come out of this. I'm looking forward to the book club. That's a wonderful idea, Sister Erica. I'm glad you brought that up because you're going to put me on point to get back to reading those books. Like I said, I do. I'm always reading some, but I said I had to get back to reading those books. And so that's going to be a good thing. So I'm thankful, and I pray that everybody got some news that you can use. I pray that as I go through these presentations, you see why I say that it takes hard work to have good health. And so I pray that all of you have been inspired tonight to get to that work. Next week, we will talk specifics about the book club. I'm thinking about doing diabetes next week because I listened to my diabetes show and the audio was horrible. So that's probably what I'm going to do next week. And then the week after that, that Tuesday is going to actually be my birthday, my birth anniversary. So there won't be a show on August the 11th. But anybody that want to join me, I'm doing a 10-day fast. The first 10 days of August, I'm fasting, and I'm going to break my fast on my birthday. So anybody that is down with a 10-day fast, come on and join me. But until next week, you all have a wonderful rest of your week. I pray that you are inspired to work hard. I pray that everybody is safe and sound and that you continue to work on your righteousness, continue putting God in your life first so that we can all make it out of this. And when we get through this situation, we'll be better than when we came in. So thank you again. You all have a wonderful rest of your night. And thank you again for coming and spending your time. Peace.